Greetings. This is Diplomatic Corner, Nahu Television. My name is Professor Brook Hailu. Today I have a very distinguished guest. I'm in the residence of the Kingdom of Japan, and with me is Her Excellency Madam Ambassador Ito Takako.
Good morning.
Let me welcome you. Good morning to you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning to you. She's the Ambassador of Japan to Ethiopia. She's a very career diplomat and serving her nation in a very distinguished way. Allow me to welcome you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
With pleasure. With pleasure.
Let us start off our discussion, Madam Ambassador Ito, with the highlights, historical highlights and significance of Ethiopian-Japan bilateral relations, both of them very ancient countries.
Yes, yes. Well, let me start with the significance of Japan-Ethiopia relations. As you mentioned, both are the countries which has a long history, and then in Asia and in Africa, we are the only country, only very few countries that escaped from colonization, maintained its own culture, and then we are, in a sense, leaders of the region. And for Japan, Ethiopia has the longest diplomatic relations for Japan in Africa. And then we continue to have a very, very friendly relations. So in terms of the another significance is that we are so complementary to each other. For instance, Ethiopia is such a young country in terms of populations. You have many, many young people.
True.
While in Japan, we are a rapidly aging society, and almost 30% of our population is over 65 years old. And our population is unfortunately gradually shrinking. So, so the young country and old country, which has both over 110 million populations, may have something to cooperate together. And Ethiopia also has a lot of natural resources, but landlocked countries.
True.
Japan, on the other hand, does not have much natural resources, and we are island countries. So we are also looking for the places to invest and have our companies to go abroad. Well, Ethiopia is trying to have more foreign direct investment to come. So look into our highlights. Of course, our very beginning is very, very symbolic. Even though the official opening of diplomatic relations was in 1930, when at the time of the colonization of the Emperor Haile Selassie, the Japanese delegation came and attended the ceremony, as well as we signed the first agreement of a treaty of amity and commerce. But even before, the young leaders of that time met in the League of the Nations as a very, very rare non-European members. And we look into a multinational society without any discrimination. So we have some ideas together. And the following year, the then Foreign Minister of Ethiopia came to Japan, together with a nephew of Emperor. And you might know that nephew wanted to get married with a Japanese lady after he visited Japan, and he liked Japan and Japanese ladies so much. So eventually we had this open recruitment, and we identified that one Japanese lady. And there was such a fever in Japan about this Japanese lady to become a princess in African country. There are some songs about her and the marriage, and traditional doll festivals. We had even Ethiopian doll couple. Unfortunately, this wedding didn't come true, but nevertheless, Ethiopia was known to the people in Japan.
Wonderful.
And after the war, in 1956, Emperor Haile Selassie was the very first state guest to Japan after Japan was defeated in the World War II, but coming back from the ashes. So he was a very, very symbolic guest to Japan. And he was so impressed with the Japanese garden. So he created his own as his palace. Now it remains in the presidential palace. Yes. And then also our imperial family reciprocated by sending then Crown Prince and the Princess to visit Ethiopia. So, but real highlight, I would say, is by Bebe Bikila. In 1964, in Tokyo Olympic.
The legend.
Legend, yes. And, you know, the male marathon was the last event of the Olympic Games. And then he was already known to be the gold medal winner in the Rome Olympic. But he came to Japan, and he was so strong. And he was called a philosopher on the run. He was running all the way, and then everyone is so impressed. Even our Prime Minister Abe, when he was a very little boy, he went to cheer for Abe Bikila and remember that he won. So it is a very, very strong memory among the Japanese people.
I couldn't agree more. Yes.
But let me talk about Prime Minister Abe, because I think his visit to Ethiopia in 2014 also created some impact on our Japan-Ethiopia relations. Because when he came here, then Prime Minister Haile Mariam and the Prime Minister Abe signed an agreement for flying the airplanes. So now Ethiopian Airlines comes to Japan. They could come. Also, it was the first year that the Abe Initiative, meaning African Business Education Initiative, sent the first batch. It was proposed by Mr. Abe a year before, in 2013. And 2014 was the first batch of students to go to Ethiopia. And he was very happy to see that this program participants were just about to go. And also in that, during that visit, idea of creating a TICAT Human Resource Training Center to promote Kaizen started. And we are hoping that center will finally complete early next year.
Wonderful, great. What a good way to start off our conversation. Yes, lots of points, really, quite interesting. And Madam Ambassador Ito, allow me to go back a little bit, because we as Ethiopians, we remember the history, what you related and shared with us. You know, Lij Araya Baba was one of those guys who went to Japan at the time. We are also familiar with the close relations between Emperor Haile Selassie and Emperor Harihito, the late emperor. And also, I want to share with you my own personal testimony and contribution. That happened in the year 1999 or 1998. A film crew came from Japan to Ethiopia to make a documentary that revolved around the life of this young lady. They did the Japanese part in Japan, and they did the Ethiopian part right here. And I was at the university as the external relations officer at the time. So I remember that, and they brought even actors and actresses to rehearse and to do the documentary. I wonder what happened to that documentary. I wish I would see that, because they wanted to show it prime time on Japanese television.
Wait, that's so?
Yes. So I met this crew at the time.
I see. Unfortunately, around that time I was posted to New York, so I wasn't able to watch that program. But I'm certainly looking forward to finding that documentary drama and watching it. Yes.
And one last one is the curiosity about Japan. Proud nation, one of the oldest nations in the world, and yet highly disciplined and modernized society. And there were intellectuals in Ethiopia, one of them, a very prominent one. He wrote a book called Japan Endet Selettenech. How did Japan achieve this economic and growth? So even literature touches upon the Ethiopian-Japanese relations.
I see. Yes. So that's wonderful. Actually, since last year, the JICA, Japan International Cooperation Agency, started to have this JICA chair program to share Japan's experience of becoming economically advanced nation while keeping its own culture, both in terms of the 19th century when we had a major restoration, kind of a revolutionary period from a samurai world to emperor's bureaucratic political system. And also 1945, after 1945, when we lost the war, and then basically Japan in 1945 was one of the most, that's a miserable, poorest country in the world. How did we come back? And now we focus various aspects, including education, political system, and the industrial policy. And we are now looking forward to have more series to be open and the people to enjoy that program.
Wonderful. And building a very strong democratic system and a free-spirited, liberal-oriented democracy, retaining. It's an exception in the world, you know, with tradition. It's an exception. Thank you, Madam Ambassador. Now let's move on to, you know, focus on for a few minutes on Japan's. What are the principles and cornerstones of Japan's foreign policy and diplomacy throughout the world?
I see. Yes. Of course, for every country, the foreign policy is to protect the people and bring their peace and prosperity to the country. Japan is no exception. Under the current Prime Minister Kishida, he has expressed and now promoting the 3 resolves. The first resolve is to protect the universal values such as freedom, democracy, human rights, and rule of law. Those are very, very fundamental, and we have to defend those for peace and prosperity of our people and in the world. The second is to protect our territory, territorial water, territorial air, and the people and the property of our Japanese people. You may know that I don't know how many times North Korea launched the missiles this year. And Chinese ships are also coming into our territorial water so often, especially this year. We are the peace-loving nation. So in our constitution, we have specific article that Japan renounces war. But we have to have a strong resolve to protect our own people and our property. Third resolve is to become a world leader and to say face with the global challenges such as climate change or the nuclear disarmament or non-proliferation issues. That are so important for the people. Tomorrow is August 6th, which is the day that Hiroshima experienced the atomic bomb.
Very true.
Yes, and we the Japanese have certain gene to fight against this nuclear war. We cannot accept any usage anymore. Nagasaki should be the last place to experience this kind of the tragedy.
Very true. Very true. If I could insert in line with what you are saying, you know, Japan, you know, the principle of, you know, peacefully settling problems, the MacArthur Constitution, being a democracy, freedom of the press and everything. The military was organized only to defend, the Japanese defense forces to defend the country. As a political scientist, when I was following that, as I related to you before the interview, I had a 40 minutes analysis of the foreign policy, diplomacy of the late, the very well-known, prominent, the longest-serving Prime Minister, Shinzo Abe. You know, very great personality. One of the things that he wanted to change was, given the global change, the global political change going on and the international power hierarchy, he wanted to just tweak and change, you know, modernizing Japanese army, not from only being a defensive to a bit being proactive and engaged. If you'd like to comment on that.
Yes, actually, there are a lot of discussions as to the of changing of the constitutions. But without touching the constitutions, Prime Minister Abe promoted the idea of a proactive contribution to peace, including the more active role by our self-defense force. For example, now the Japanese self-defense force have a history of participating peacekeeping.
Yes.
But in the previous legislation, they could not fight against any, let's say, army or those military force who were attacking their colleague peacekeepers, because they are not attacked to the Japanese force. While they were working together in a certain peacekeeping operations, when Japanese contingents were attacked, the neighboring peacekeeping forces would come and help. But if we could not do the reverse, it is not, how to say, fair to say, the least. So that is one of the issues. And also when Japan was in an immediate threat by other external force, and when American force is trying to defend, how come the Japanese, its own military force, the self-defense force, cannot support at least logistical support for those supporting force? Those are things that we have changed already. But of course, we still have this constitutions that states that Japan will not use the threat or use of military force as means of settling international disputes. So our peaceful intention is still the same. We would say we are a very, very proud, peace-loving nation in the world.
True. Great. Which will take me, by the way, once again to Shinzo Abe. Why one of the examples of its, one being one of the giant statesmen of the Japanese political system, and that is, when the whole world was ravaged with sea piracy and the like, Japan, established a military base, in Djibouti. And one of the reasons, when I recall, as a political scientist, sharing with students, was the justification that Japanese vessels and maritime ships were also attacked.
Yes, that's
if you'd
correct.
like to comment on that.
Yes, exactly. I actually visited this Japanese self-defense force base in Djibouti, last February. It was to protect the Japanese ships because we import over 80% of our petroleum from Middle East. So it is a very, very important area. Also, the Red Sea is a very important passage towards the European market and the Middle East market. When the Japanese ships are actually attacked by piracy, we cannot just ask other countries to help. So even now, we do have the activities for patrolling, and whenever there is some trouble, they will provide assistance. Very fortunately, the number of the cases are very, very small nowadays.
Wonderful. Thank you. Continuing on that line, sea piracy itself, it looks like, and it is actually has sort of died down because the very reason was the lawlessness in Somalia. No central government at the time. So that also, propelled some youth groups and terrorist groups, to engage in these kinds of illegal activities, attacking, maritime nations' ships and asking for millions of dollars of ransom. So that has died down. But there is also the other politically propelled terrorism, like Al-Qaeda, the Islamic State, and the like. And Africa has become, most of all, not only Boko Haram in the West or Mali, G5 in the West, but also in the Horn, Al-Shabaab, and recently also Ethiopia's encounter with that. How's Japan's engagement in collaborating and in assisting and with African nations in fighting terrorism in Africa?
I see. Yes. Well, first of all, Japan denounces any kind of terrorism in the strongest term. And of course, we'd like to have a peaceful African continent without any terrorist activities here. The Japanese government, through JICA, provides some tourism investigation seminars so that the Ethiopian participants can come. And also, we have provided financial assistance through IGAD for fighting against terrorism or preventing radical extremism. Yes. In the same manner, through UNESCO ICUBA, Institute for Capacity Building for Africa, we've been promoting peace education.
Important.
Yeah, so this is done by the Japanese lady who is now head of UNESCO ICUBA.
Which I have met, I would proudly say, Madam
Ambassador. Yes. And then we invite 10, 15 countries, leaders, the educators of peace education, and learn about the peace and how to prevent radicalization or extremism. And we also take those leaders to Hiroshima and then exposed to peace education taken by Hiroshima University or Hiroshima community people. I think those are one of the examples we are doing. Of course, the Djibouti base is important, and also through our Japanese self-defense forces participation to UN peacekeeping operation in South Sudan, or we also provided some of the refugee rescue operation in Rwanda in the past. Those are the Japanese contributions.
Wonderful. Thank you. Ambassador Ito, life is only not about security, fighting, etc. Ethiopia, as a developing country, and literally all African countries, our number one priority should have been to focus on economic, social developments. And Japan has contributed a lot. That will be my next question, and that is regarding TICAD.
Yes.
TICAD 8 next coming 2 weeks in Tunis, if I'm not wrong, Madam, is one of those highlights that all of us, the press and everything, would follow. If you could focus on Japan's efforts in TICAD, the history, the development, the milestone. Thank you.
Sure. And we are very proud that Japan was the very first country to have this kind of a format, that the partner country and African countries get together for the African development. It was 1993. I was also part of the staff in Tokyo, and I was actually liaison officer for the first ladies to see the Japanese culture, the Japanese music education, and so forth. But nevertheless, I think Japan is very proud to be a partner, to act together, and also providing new ideas for Abe initiative. We invited the young Ethiopian people to come to Japan and study the master's degree on business education, then have an internship, then come back to Africa, so that they can become a bridge between Japan and African country.
Very true.
And they also learn the Japanese business ethics or the system as well. So we are also planning to have this TICAD center and then promotes the idea of Kaizen. For this coming the TICAD 8, we also have the 3 pillars. Of course, one is economic pillar. Nowadays, because of the COVID, for the last 2 years, we have rather restricted exchange of people. But nevertheless, we have many Japanese companies who want to come to Africa to invest and also have some business networkings. So we have a separate business forum between the Japanese business people and participating countries. But also this time, we'd like to have startups and green economy, digitization, those things to be discussed and promoted.
Wonderful.
And I think those are areas that Japan can also cooperate together. And it is not just providing the fund, but we involve a lot of private-public partnership, and we are expecting many MOUs are signed between the Japanese business people and African counterparts or African governments. Yeah. Second pillar is the social issues. Yeah. Of course, social development is very important for the development of the countries in Africa, including the universal health coverage, or how we can build the post-COVID-19 society.
Yes.
Yeah. Education of girls, inclusive development, those are very, very important. And I think we can also cooperate in that sense. Yeah. And the third pillar is peace and security issue. In the last TICAD 7, we launched this idea of NAPSA, New Approach for Peace and Stability in Africa. Yeah. So there are various peacekeeping centers throughout Africa, and Japan has been supporting, including the one in Ethiopia. We are very proud that the building itself is supported by Japan.
Yes, I visited it, Madam Ambassador.
Now additional one is going to be built, and then the two courses are taking place. Actually, next Monday we are having another opening of the courses. Over 650 people, including about 100 non-Ethiopians. Both military and civilians and police people had the trainings in that center in Ethiopia. And also last December, we started the only master course peacekeeping the studies here in Ethiopia. So Japan is happy to cooperate in that area.
Great.
Yeah.
That's
of course, other peace and stability issues, democracy issues, and those can be also, say, discussed, and then we would like to find a solution together.
Very good. Wonderful. Education is the key, and that's very, very important, really.
Yes.
Which brings me to my follow-up question, and that's on education. Are there scholarship opportunities offered in Japan for Ethiopian students? If you could share that with us.
Yes, Japanese government has been providing the Ministry of Education government scholarship for some years, and then both for the undergraduate and graduate levels. There are basically two routes. One is through the application via embassy and competition. They have to pass the, as I say, selection through the document application, then take some tests. Then another is arrangement between the universities. But this year we just selected 7 undergrads, graduate school people. Those people are paid in full for their planes and tuitions, and even some money to live in Japan.
Very good.
Yeah. Currently, the president of Bahada University, he was also one of the recipients. Yes. Okay. Or the Dr. Safewok, who used to be the State Minister for Education, the State Minister for Foreign Affairs. He was also studying in Japan under this scholarship.
I see.
As a medical doctor.
Wonderful.
Yes, so we have various graduates, and we would like to have more people to know about this scholarship and apply. And once you have this reputation of Ethiopian students being a good students, the recipient university would like to look for more Ethiopian students, and they have a separate arrangements via Mombusho, which is the Ministry of Education.
Wonderful. It's like building a bridge also.
Yes.
When they come back also, they know about, they have a taste and experience of the Japanese culture.
That's right.
Not only the educational system, the food, the people, this rich tradition.
Right.
So they in a way become unofficially, I would say, if you agree, an ambassador.
Yes.
Between
grassroots
the two
ambassadors. Yes.
Yeah, in the two countries to bring them closer. That's wonderful, really. That's wonderful. Madam Ambassador, Japan, with all its affluence, very rich, high-tech society, Ethiopia needs investment, more and more investment. And it so happened that in Ethiopia we have many reports testify to that. It's not only what I say, but it has been written. We have a trainable labor force, I would say.
Yes, yes.
When do we see more and more Japanese corporations, companies to come here and to invest? Because Ethiopia is the gateway of Africa, really. It's right there in the Middle East, right there at the eastern corner, to Southern Africa, Western Africa. In Southern Europe is not also far away. India is even not far away, from us, 4 hours, maybe 5 hours. When would we see that,
Okay, see. First of all, remind you that Safaricom is a big investment from Japan's Sumitomo Corporation. Sumitomo has 27% of the share of the Safaricom Ethiopia. So we see it the joint investment by a Japanese company, which is a huge amount.
Wow.
And we are looking at how this Safaricom investment, which is a very, very, I say, bolder adventure of opening this telecom area to the private sector, and they're going to have the private companies competing with the state-owned Ethio Telecom.
Yeah.
So we are looking whether this could be done in a fair way, fair manner, and a transparent way, and then. If they are successful, other companies, other countries would see, okay, Ethiopia, we can expect to have a good investment. But if you allow me to be a bit more blunt,
please be.
We do have several the challenges to invite more Japanese investors.
Okay.
One is the foreign currency issue.
Okay.
Yes, Japanese companies may make a lot of benefit by coming here. But they cannot send back those benefits outside of this country. If other countries, other neighboring countries in Africa, allows to send this money to wherever you want to transfer, naturally the company would like to have freedom of deciding where they want to put their benefits. So that is one restriction. The second is the transparent law application, especially taxation issue. We see a lot of people at the top of the government say, well, we are going to invite FDI and have a transparent and open market. But if you look at the people who are actually conducting and the administration, they are not so transparent. And many Japanese investors, the small ones and the big ones, have a lot of difficulties to settle the issue.
I see.
Tax issues, especially, they're waiting for the audit to come. For the last 7-8 years still they don't come, but all of a sudden they come. Those are not so, favorable situation. And infrastructure for the big factories is also a challenge. Although the government say, well, yes, we have an industrial park for you to come, but some industrial parks, they don't have enough infrastructure. And also, if it's a state-owned industrial park, you have to export the products. But if you have such a huge market here, why don't we utilize this huge market by producing in the industrial park in this country as well? So of course the security issues in general is very, very important, because Japan is one of the safest country in the world. And then very, very, people don't think it is so dangerous to be out at night. It's one of the concerns. But especially for the law enforcement at the law level, transparency of the law and the foreign currency, those are very, very challenging.
You have raised many salient points. These are issues that really is also applicable, I would say, to other African developing countries or even Latin American countries. When a society is ready it has to open up for countries like Japan. Deregulation, denationalization, even the telecom, as you said. That's a new phenomena in Ethiopia.
Yes. Yeah.
People were pushing for the last 30 years, even when the military, collapsed and the EPRDF regime came to power. Then, there are certain requirements from investors from Japan, Western Europe, and even America. They want not only cheap labor or trainable labor, but a good taxation system, less red tape, less bureaucracy, and the like. So I do hope, and I'm sure the issues that you raised, and you are really blunt. It's good to be blunt sometimes. It's good to be a diplomat, but also blunt. And I do hope that some viewers would listen to that and find the solutions to that, because the point is to create a win-win situation for Japanese investors and for Ethiopian people to create jobs, to bring know-how, technology transfer from Japan, and to create more wealth and the like. So thank you for raising this important issue, Madam Ambassador.
But as you mentioned, education is very important, and one of the important pillar for our official development assistance policy toward Ethiopia is to have a good education as well as good health. And through our the grassroots small projects, we are building various elementary schools, libraries, and also helping curriculums, especially for the maths and science in Ethiopia, and sending volunteers to implement those new curriculums too. Yes. So we work with the Ethiopian people or African people.
And also for young girls in Ethiopia, every society has at least 50%, 51% are girls and women.
Yes.
How do you see the position of women in Ethiopia? What's your impression?
I think we need more work to do for increasing the women's enrollment in school, as well as their, future empowerment of women. I visited some rural parts of this country, and because of the lack of schools, they have to commute 10-15 kilometers. So the parents don't want to send girls for such a long distance, or they don't have enough toilets for women, or the security issues. So we think we can do a little more things for that. And for the more the older ladies, Japan has been assisting women's empowerment program, both through the government or the World Bank programs, as well as our NGOs called Sasakawa Africa Foundation. They are also providing trainings for the rural women. And I think it is important that the women to know that they also have a right to study and also prosper. Japan is actually hosting this year, if the situation is okay, another Abe initiative, World Assembly for Women.
I see.
In short, WOW. To talk
That's
about
very catchy.
To talk about how women can be enhanced in the enhancement and the economic independence, and how women can contribute for the peace issues. So in December, and we hope to have a nice participant from Ethiopia as well.
Wonderful. That's a great idea. Immediately, what you remind me, Madam Ambassador, what the women in Liberia did, the Liberian Civil War. They literally intervened, moms, mothers, so that the war stops. And there are classical examples in Africa where women can contribute to peace.
Yes, actually, President Madam Salif came to the WOW meeting in the past.
Oh, really?
Yes, she's one of the keynote speakers.
Allow me to say something, because it's very touching. I was honored and privileged also to work with the president in Paris. She was the bilateral ambassador, and I was focusing on UNESCO, the multilateral. So
I see.
I agree with what you say. Ethiopia is fortunate to have the first woman president, of course, and I'm glad she was the one. Really, I want to share that with you.
Great, Well, may I ask a chance to talk about another important Japanese foreign policy is to promote human security. Well, human security people lose life,
Yeah.
whether it's in the conflict or in the poverty, famine, or infectious diseases, or landmines, or the criminal activity by shot by the
Absolutely.
gun. So
Absolutely.
each individual is so important. So how can we enhance the security of each human being?
Yeah.
So we put more emphasis on this human development and then supporting the idea of helping, especially in the developing countries.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that insertion. Help, economic aid are economic help. Help are help, but what kind of help? Very tangible ones. And I would like to really, you know, the Ethiopian public would appreciate, and they do appreciate, and I have seen it also. Recently, the Japanese government, through its ODA, the Official Development Assistance, donated road maintenance machines to the Addis Ababa city government.
Yes, yes.
If you could like to say something about that. Yeah.
Yes, road is very important because the road connects the people, goods and services. That really helps the economic development. I also attended the opening ceremony of Jimma Chida Road in Oromia last year. And then I was staying at the hotel in Jimma and then took the road in the morning. Sure enough, the road was very bad. And then no, you could not go so fast. And that reminded
takes you hours and hours.
Yeah, that reminded me of my mother's story. My mother used to live in a very, very rural area of Japan.
I see.
And when she was young, it was almost 100 years ago. So the road was very bad. And my grandfather went into the frontier of northern part of Japan, and he built a good farm and then started to have a family. But when the son was born and grew up, maybe 5-6 years old, he got the appendicitis.
Yes, yes, correct.
But because there was no road, no good road, they have to carry all the way to the hospital in town.
Wow.
But on the way,
In Japan
at
the time.
he died.
Wow.
If the road was in a better condition, maybe they could use much faster way, and the life could have saved. And I felt the same way when my car was going so slow in a very bumpy road. If this road is much smoother, the ambulance could go through. The horses and the trucks can bring those the products of agriculture to the market.
Very true.
And students can go to the further universities or schools. So I think it is important, and now we are happy to provide this maintenance equipment. And he said.
The mayor, I saw this footage in the news. It was covered very well.
Thank you. And the DG said the previous one Japan donated to Addis Ababa city 25 years ago. They're still working.
25 it's a quarter of a century ago.
Yes, still working.
Long time.
But yet,
but still working.
Still working.
Still working.
But we'd like to have the newest ones and the more, so that they can be, speeding up. They can speed up the maintenance.
Roads are important, when you related what happened in your family, your immediate family in Ethiopia, mothers die because of labor, they have to be carried from so many rural areas so far away and the like. So roads are important for economic development, for health, for everything. So but there is hope. Japan had experienced such experience, but it has surmounted its problems, and now you have the fastest trains, the well-connected roads. You have everything. The entire island nation of Japan is well connected, and that had contributed to your economic growth and development. Shall we move to wrapping up the interview because of lack of time? You raised so many wonderful points, and my next question is, how well placed is Japan in Africa? We have 54 plus 1, 55 countries now. How many embassies do you have? How do you rank? How do you rank your diplomatic post here in Ethiopia.
I see, I see.
Yes.
We have 30 plus embassies in the entire continent here. And I'm proud that I'm ambassador to Ethiopia, the second most populous country on the continent. There are so much opportunities ahead of us. Yeah. And then when I was receiving this say paper from my big boss in the foreign ministry, he said, "Okay, Miss Ito, you're with a very important country, most important country." I take it to a T. Yes. And then I think I'm very, very happy to work here. I don't know about other countries, and I don't envy other countries because I have so many things to do here.
Absolutely.
And the day I submitted a copy of my credence to the president, to State Minister Redouan, that was the November 3rd, 2020. So that night, the battle started. And for the last almost 2 years, it was really passing the shadow on our diplomatic activities here, in addition to the coronavirus pandemic. But the corona is more or less the same for the whole world, I would say. And no thanks to a nice compound here, I could manage to have a small-scale events at this embassy and residence. And also, we are hopeful that this situation in the north will be settled in a peaceful manner, not in a long distance future. And we are supporting those people who are in need. We provided various assistance through international organizations, and hope we can also cooperate for rebuilding this country.
Yes. Absolutely, war is not good, you know, and we are hopeful that this will find a solution problem in the north, and we need to focus on economic and social developments, you know.
Because Ethiopia is too big to fail, and
absolutely.
there are so many challenges in this country.
I agree with you.
I visited the Somali region, SNPR, and also Oromia.
That was my next question, by the way. How far have you seen Ethiopia? How far have you traveled, Madam Ambassador?
Well, except Gambela and the Benshangums, and then I think I covered most of
Harar,
Diredawa, yes.
Yes. Bahar Dar and Adama, everywhere.
Okay. Yeah, but I haven't gone to the Lalibela yet. But I hope our situation would allow me. Because in Gambela, we have some project there, including our support for eradicating the Guinea worm disease, or supporting those the refugee camps and AP camps. Benshangugums also, we are working through the UNOPS for the Women's Empowerment Project. Yeah, so I'd like to see and then also cheer up those people who are working for good cause.
Indeed, they need the cheer up, absolutely.
Would
I be correct to say, are you the first woman ambassador of Japan in Ethiopia?
That's correct, yes.
So I was.
Certainly not the last, but
No. Well, we do hope you're good, you know. Everything will follow you, and we'll have more and more women ambassadors.
Yes, certainly. I'm happy to work here when your president is a woman, Chief Justice is a woman, and almost half of the cabinet ministers are a woman.
Yes,
exactly. And you have wonderful female leaders.
Thank you.
And I'm happy to work with them as well as male colleagues.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Both need each other.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right,
absolutely. One last point is, last question is, you are a seasoned diplomat. You were in Toronto, Canada. You were in so many other places, focusing on different portfolios and at the headquarters of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and abroad. Do you speak a number of languages? And also, do you speak one of those few Ethiopian languages, Amharic and others? I have to ask you this.
Some Ito Takako now. Japan ambassador now.
Japan ambassador name.
Yeah. Well, yes, I was posted to Malaysia, Indonesia, which have a quite similar bahasa. We call bahasa Indonesia, bahasa Melayu. So sometimes I'm trying to learn Amarinya, try to speak Amarinya, some Indonesian word come out.
Yeah, it will come out.
Yeah. But no, it's fun to learn the new language and try to show our sincerity that we'd like to understand you and like to communicate you. Yeah.
Thank you. And that is what it is, language and even cuisine. Is a language itself. People interact, intercultural communication. That's really good.
Yeah.
So, Madam Ambassador, thank you for your.
Yeah, I will invite you in the future with my chef Japanese cuisine, which is also utilizing the Ethiopian ingredients. Injera salad or beans cooked in the coffee.
Okay.
Yeah, or the coffee jelly as a dessert.
Yes.
Of course, we have a good sushi.
Sushi is number one. In America, where I live, everywhere in the world, sushi is the best.
Yeah.
Sushi is the best. Thank you for your frankness.
Oh, thank you very much.
I wish you really all the best for the remainder of your term. Thank you for bringing the two countries together, for making a difference to the country we love, Ethiopia. Japan and Ethiopia, long history, as already said. And I wish you more success in whatever you do.
Thank you so much. It was really an honor for me to appear on this Nahu TV, Diplomatic Corner.
Thank you. A pleasure to have you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Her Excellency Ambassador Ito Takako. She's the ambassador of Japan to Ethiopia, and she was, had discussed with us so many issues about Japanese-Ethiopian bilateral relations. So thank you once again for your time, Your Excellency Ambassador. Until we meet you again with another distinguished guest, it's me, Professor Brook Hailu, from Nahu TV, Diplomatic Corner, signing off.
Welcome, Kan.
Welcome to you. Thank you.